Hi, my name is Bruce Bolger, and I'm the founder of the Brand Media Coalition, which is the brand division of the Enterprise Engagement Alliance, which focuses on helping organizations achieve their goals through a strategic focus on all of their people, employees, customers, supply and distribution chain partners, and their communities. And these programs are designed to provide people the information they need as almost jacks of all trade in engagement to make decisions related to rewards and recognition, to incentive programs, loyalty, and in our broader EEA programs, all aspects of assessment, leadership, management, etc. So our mission is to do what trade shows and conferences used to do, and can very easily be done virtually now, is get experts that are available on demand, recorded, and you can get them when you wish. So I'm very happy today to have four experts who can really help us demystify what's a really important part of this industry, and that is the master fulfillment company. And this is the type of company that everybody should go to when they're in any way considering gifting, rewarding, recognizing through brands any of their employees, customers, volunteers, and whatnot. And yet no one's ever heard of them. So it's our job to make sure you've heard of them. So we have Scott Kukin. He's owner of Links Unlimited in Cincinnati. They're one of the probably the world's largest master fulfillment companies, and he'll explain a little bit more what that means in a couple of minutes. Adrienne Forrest, she's vice president of corporate sales for Citizen Watch America, and she's been in the business since in the late 1990s. Along, I should say, not as long as I have been, but she's got just a ton of experience in this marketplace. Marianne Komodo, who we're lucky to have on camera, she's owner of a master fulfillment company in Ohio as well, Cleveland, who really focuses on program design and helping her partners brings program solutions. So we're going to get her perspective on this. And then we have Carrie Goldman. He's sales director, enterprise B2B for 1-800-Flowers.com, which is one of the biggest players in the corporate market that many people don't realize because they have so many consumers who will say, hey, if I need corporate gifts, I'm going to go to 1-800-Flowers. So we're going to talk about this industry with these four experts. And I'm going to start with you, Adrienne. Uh, and I'm going to start actually, by the way, one other housekeeping thing. I forgot to mention that we have many terrific sponsors who promote best practices and learning to help distributors and end users and incentive and recognition companies implement best practices. And we provide lots of great information, but that ends that. So I'm going to go back to Adrienne now. Uh, Adrienne, you've been in the business like I have for a number of years, and one of the things that has always been talked about is the reward experience. And yet that's really been part of what you folks have done all of the time, isn't it? You have always been about, excuse me, I'm trying to remove this share here and it's being recalcitrant. But my question is to you, um, how important really to you is the reward experience? And does the average buyer really understand the importance of how that gift is presented, gifted, and whatnot?
Well, thank you, Bruce. And I think first and foremost, we start with products that have high perceived value. So that adds to the reward experience. But I think to your question, the buyers don't understand necessarily the value of the reward experience. And I think that really is key. I think, as I said, starting with a company, I've been very proud to work with Bulova and now Citizen Watch America for coming up on 20 years. It's really an honor to work with a product that has such a high perceived value in the market. And our brands comprise, a third of every watch that's sold in North America. So that's very exciting for me. But I think as we're presenting the products, I think it's really key that the buyers understand the process of the actual presentation, curating the assortment to make sure that the product really has high intrinsic value, and that it can also hopefully be personalized and relay that special message, which can take on the heirloom effect when you're giving the gift for the recipient.
Well, thank you, Adrian. And I'm going to turn to Scott with a question also to you. Doesn't it make you funny, laugh in a funny way that so few people after this, after everything we've done in the industry to promote it, have never heard of people like companies like Scott's who can actually create that experience, because you're not in the business of doing that. So companies like you work with your retailers for consumer, and then you work with people like Scott to create that experience. So Scott, please
Exactly.
tell me what a company like yours does. And you're muted right now.
We-
Might have an audio problem here. Scott, you are muted.
Sorry
There
about
you
that.
go. Perfect.
Yeah, so we are a supplier. Our philosophy is to carry the best brands, period, and push those out into the marketplace. And so the conversation is correct. It starts with the brand, making sure you have the right brand, understanding the audience, understanding the the selection, understanding what the companies are trying to do, either through loyalty, incentive, and employee engagement. But ultimately, we're trying to get the right product to the right person at the right time. And so it starts with the product, but it's that experience that makes it work. And so we want to make sure that we're carrying the right products and that we're educating our customers, distributors on why to carry these products. And then we want to educate them on the experience, because I believe that experience is just as important as that product selection.
And that's all been borne out by extensive research from the Incentive Research Foundation that, by the way, folks, you can find at the brandmediacoalition.com resources section. Marianne, again, you've been in the business for a long time, and you've been a CEO, and as you're also, I understand, a certified public accountant. You're a business person, you have a CFO background. And yet probably most people, they would think to buy retail, wouldn't they? To buy to these types of programs, wouldn't you guess? And what do you think are the chances of anybody being able to get at retail the types of expertise that Scott just talked about?
People want to buy retail if they have the staffing, and they don't have very many award participants because they think it's easier and cheaper. In reality, they find out it's more difficult because you have the entire experience of receiving the award. Maybe you don't like it, returning the award, and the hassle that goes in with that, or being able to find the product that you want in the retail market, especially at this time when the supply chain is broken.
And I'm going to get back to you on program design in a couple of minutes. But Carrie, from your perspective, obviously you've been a beneficiary of the whole work from home phenomenon. In fact, that's been a huge part of it. Tell us a little bit about how important the reward experience is, and why does 1-800-Flowers have a separate B2B department, specifically to address, why companies should work through B2B and not B2C?
Sure. Well, Bruce, it's interesting, right? Because it starts with the basic philosophy of surprise and delight, right? And engagement. And when we think about traditional customer engagement programs, and we look at 1-800-Flowers and our 12 plus premium brands that we go to market with, this is really about how do we engage with our customers? How do we engage with our customers, meaning whether it's an employee engagement program or a customer engagement program, it's really about showing appreciation, right? And it's a little bit different from what I would call traditional rewards model, because really what we're looking at is everyday occasion gifting. So think about milestones, whether that's birthdays, anniversaries, et cetera, in an organization. It's showing that appreciation. And it goes beyond, right? We're known for flowers, right, as 1-800-Flowers, but it goes above and beyond flowers at Valentine's Day or Mother's Day. And it's a critical part, and it has been critical for us during the COVID experience, let's say, where people are having virtual meetings, as we all know, and through those virtual meetings, we want to deliver a virtual breakfast. That's where we come into play. So not only in that area, but again, when we look at the entire world of virtual meetings, how do we do a floral arranging class? How do we do a charcuterie board creation class? All of these little things that we specialize in as an organization going to market to help organizations express and connect with their employees. Why do we have a B2B engine, Bruce? Which is a great question. excuse me. Really, the objective here is for corporations who want simplicity to ease in the process. Customers don't necessarily want a choice of 10,000 or 20,000 items to choose from. They want a curated selection of what's popular in the industry, what's from a supply chain standpoint of view, what can effectively be managed to add to efficiencies. And that's the last portion, helping organizations efficiently go through the acquisition process of product and at the same time ensure delivery of those products to those corporations.
And that leads to the area of expertise, Adrian, because you work for a company that also sells through retail, and yet you have a significant corporate division. So let me ask you this. Let's say, you're going to be flying again soon. Hopefully we all will be, and you're going to be getting those upgrades that you've long earned, and you're sitting next to a CEO, and she tells you, it's funny, I've really been thinking I've got to have, have a big dealer program coming up. I've got all of my people coming in. And, I was thinking of having my assistant go down to a major department store, which could be a customer of yours, right? And we were going to buy a whole bunch of stuff to give them. What do you think I should do? What's your advice to that CEO?
Well, first of all, I would say to them that, if you go to a department store, like you mentioned earlier, you're going to have so many choices, and I think Mary Ann mentioned, they might have to go back and return the items. But if you work with a company that is experts in putting together programs for employees, that they can, work with you, you give them your budget, you tell them the demographics of your people, and they'll do all the work for you and put together a curated assortment of products that's best to meet your employees. And then on top of that, we can also offer customizing and put the personalization and special messages and decorating options on the products. So there's so many more options when you deal with a professional company that this is their business.
And Scott, it's my understanding that ironically, during the pandemic, you made a decision to really expand your personalization services. Am I correct? And if so, could you explain that?
Yeah, so we build in a logo department, just about 2,000 square feet. So it's relatively small, but we're just starting that process. And really, once again, we're trying to control that customer experience, shorten that lead time. In some cases, we feel like we could do it better than some of the printers out there. And so we are just trying to focus on that experience to the customer, lead times, pre-pros, and so forth. And also we are experimenting on some other products to put some logos on the promotional product side. So when you look at that industry, there's the loyalty side, which is blank goods. Incentive sides could be either. The promotional product side is in most cases logo goods, and then that employee engagement side is either logo or non-logo goods, and then our experiential team is usually the non-logo goods. And so we have a mixture of products. Everything is already in our warehouse, so we are just shortening up that lead time to be able to put logos on products that need to be pushed out to those divisions.
Scott, you've got a slight, at least on my screen, your audio is perfect, and so we're going to proceed with this, but if there's anything you can maybe do, I doubt there's much, because your video is a little choppy, but you're so articulate, I think we're good. Mary Ann, one of the things I find very interesting about your company, and I believe that was the philosophy of Walt Schaefer as a master fulfillment company, you help support the reseller, the distributor, and actual program design and implementation. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
We're not just a master fulfillment. In fact, that's not really our forte. If somebody needs 100 of them, that's not where we can do that, but that's not what our specialty is. Our specialty is putting together and putting the rules and regulations together for a program, designing the program and the website for those individuals, for their companies, so they can have a program that is works for them and works smoothly for the entire corporation and the people involved. So we put a selection of products in. Some have all kinds of merchandise. Some just have a little selection of merchandise. And some even have experiential and air travel along with hotels and event tickets. So depends on the program. If it's loyalty, it usually includes everything because you're dealing with outside forces, clients versus an in-house program for your actual employees.
Well, you folks are kind of demonstrating one of the key points that we want to make in this program. Could you imagine going, Adrian, to a retail counter at Macy's and saying, oh, by the way, young man, we're planning a major event. We're going to have our top customers coming in, and we'd like you to help you with a gifting program versus going to somebody like Marianne or Scott. And I think there's also another important distinction before I go over to you, Carrie, between a company like Marianne is being very clear. I'm really all about helping you with your program, your design, your implementation, and yes, the fulfillment of great rewards of all types. But if you want 10,000 gifts for a national rollout next week of something really big, that's where you might go to a company like Scott's. So when you call up different companies, and we'll show you how to find these master fulfillment companies, the right question to ask is, what are they right for? And that's part of the approach here of the program. Carrie, one of the really big things we've seen that I think is just the beginning is the explosion of technology,
Mhm.
and especially in surprise and delight. Can you tell us, and Scott, I believe your company has been involved with that as well, and Marianne, so we're going to talk a little bit about the role of technology here for a minute. Carrie, what do you see in that whole area of surprise and delight and technology?
Great question, Bruce. Right, there's a couple of factors that tie into this, not only from how you go to market as a solution or product, but technology in our world, as we have over 5,000 florists who do delivery or distribution, same day delivery and distribution to next day, as well as just general supply chain and distribution is critically important. But really, when we start looking at the market as a whole and you start reading the tea leaves, it's pretty clear that this idea and strategy around smart gifting or providing choice in the gifting model is becoming absolutely the norm over the course of the upcoming years, right? So rather than the traditional model of I'm an employee, I select my gift and you ship it to me. Now in customer engagement programs, we might have a gift, but there's alternative gifts that someone can select from, and being able to do this effectively and efficiently with choice becomes critically important. So Bruce, when we look at technology, not only is it that, it's efficiencies in the buying process, right? How do we help not only in the channel, which is critical, but also to our end user direct clients, having the methodologies to handle EDI, handle punch out, handle Ariba, all of these facets of business that simplify not only the buying equation, but the recipient's equation, and communicating on that on a continuous basis, whether that's through SMS or email or otherwise, letting people follow their product along the journey they've selected or they've been awarded, so they see it coming along. And then obviously when we talk about Scott, you look at personalization, that's not going away either. It's only going to continue to escalate.
Scott, and I believe you too have developed a sort of a surprise and delight gifting platform that's all digital and that has characteristics similar to Carrie, to which what he's talking about.
Yeah, so part of what we believe in the user experience is the order experience as well. And so we definitely want to make sure on the fulfilling the goods, we're meeting that expectation and getting the right product to the right person at the right time. But we want to make that ordering process as easy as possible. So that is exactly what was just said. It's communicating order confirmations, shipping confirmations, call centers, just to support that whole process. And then we have a digital platform that we roll out, and depending on what the client is expecting to do, it could be an event where we'll have a website up for 30 days. It'll have their logo. They can go, have their people pick the gift, or it could be a tiered program that we're running for distributors that they could come in and, select a tier based upon, what they're trying to accomplish. And so part of that, just that experience is making that order experiences as easy as possible, and then basically to over communicate.
Marianne, you have technology. Thank you, Scott. You have technology that actually assists also with program design that helps your resellers actually run the program itself, the points allocation, recognition. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that helps your resellers?
Well, our program helps, our web design is all in-house and we own our own software. So we can tailor a program for any company depending on what they want. And it seems other than for length of service, no two programs are alike. Everyone wants something a little different. They want to do blast emails, or they want, individual personalized emails. They want a certain selection of products only these people can select. So when someone logs in, it identifies who they are and what they can select, rather than just opening up the product class to everyone, which other sales incentive or loyalty programs do. So we've had this system for years. We've developed it and keep improving on it. We can get a program up within a week to 2 weeks for people when they need something immediately. So they have very easy ability to see what their program is, know the rules, because they're just on the site of what the rules of that program are, pick their product, order the product, and on the back end, all the administrative stuff is visible with reports and charts for the people who are running the program. So they can see who ordered what the most popular gift was without giving any kind of paper product, paper reports to them. So they can gauge the whole program.
Well, once again, this is not the type of service one can get at retail. Adrian, because this program is addressed in part to promotional professionals who are looking more and more at broadening their business, I wanted to ask you, you've been working with them longer than any other brand, and you got into it when people
Sure.
looked, what are you doing here? What? And now I think that's really changed. And yet still, after 21 years because I was involved with the early efforts to educate distributors on selling brands and incentive and recognition programs, based on all the surveys I've seen, only about 7% are really still active in this business. Given this huge imperative now for companies to engage their employees who forever now are going to be working in a hybrid situation, and also events are going to be hybrid. They're coming back, but they're going to be hybrid. There's just no doubt about it, because you can get a bigger reach, right? You can have my regional event, but people can dial in from Sri Lanka if they want.
Exactly.
So, Adrian, do you think that there's a big opportunity still to train distributors and they're really promotional professionals. That's where they're calling themselves now, on how to sell brands, on how to do the types of things so that and how to learn about people like Scott, like Carrie, like Marianne, who can really make a success for their programs? Or do you think we're maxed out? Do you think 7% is as good as we're going to get?
No, I think the continuing work that the promotional industry has been doing on education is certainly taking effect, and it is working. We joke all the time, you and I, and we have, about how, Bulova used to be one of the few companies, and people would ask us at the promotional product show, what are you doing here? Well, we have products specifically designed for this market and price points, but it's not just the low price points. I mean, this market really has adapted to use merchandise at every price level. So it's really an education process. We have, products specifically that are designed for the market that can be customized and logoed, which does help for this market, but we sell the breadth of our product line into this market. So I think it's a continuing process of educating the distributors, and I think we still have a ways to go.
Well, the interesting thing, and we're involved with an initiative in the promotional products industry which this show is a part of. So thank you very much. And Scott, I wanted to ask you, your impression. Do you think you've been selling through distributors for years, and so have you, Marianne? So I'm going to ask you in a minute. Do you think do you see continued growth? More distributors realizing that their customers want sustainable products. They want products that people are going to hold on to, that aren't going to end up in a landfill? What do you think about the shift toward brands and more high perceived value and distributors following their customers that way?
Yeah, I think it's a growing industry. As old as this industry is, we still see the growth, and our sales team is still educating distributors on how to manage that experience. And so we do believe in that employee engagement. We do believe in that experience, and just sharing with them about kitting, how that changes the experience, how the packaging changes that experience, how the surprise and delight, how the order process, that whole process, and to go out there and say, yes, we can ship out 15,000 packages in one day to hit, so it hits all your customers at one time. Just to go out and explain that so distributors can go that out and sell that to their customers. It's an education process that we are still going out there and training people.
Well, and that's the purpose of shows like this. Now, when people want to enter this marketplace, we just send them this video and they can educate themselves in less than a half hour. Marianne, what about you? Because you're dealing with distributors that are more sophisticated because they're selling programs. Do you see distributors as a growth market? And again, we should be calling them, out of respect to them, promotional professionals. That's the new. I used to be. It used to be ad specialty distributors, promotional professionals. I think they're moving in that direction. But do you think so, Marianne?
I've seen more and more moving into that direction from the conversations I've had with them, newbies, not necessarily newbies in the industry, but newbies to the incentive business. And they're saying, I never did that because that wasn't our bailiwick. Now I need to do this. They're not comfortable selling it themselves yet. So it's nice to know there's somebody that can be there to the questions that they don't have the answers to when they're dealing with their clients. So there's a lot of Zoom meetings or just conference calls with the distributor and their client to guide them along of what they want to do. Because promotional products are good in some, with their, to promote their brand, but they're not good in all situations. So sales awards, they really don't want something with the company's name on it for their high performance. They either want cash or they want a gift or a trip or something. So promotional products, people are seeing that they have lost out on business because they didn't let people know they could do this, and they saw their clients go somewhere else. And their fear now is not only will they go somewhere else for the incentives, but then that person will take the promotional product business with them. So they're open to it.
To me, the promotional products industry is a little bit like the US post offices. Imagine if you had an entrepreneur who had 120,000 people knocking on everybody's door, going to everybody's door every day. What an asset that is. We have 20,000 distributors out there who are knocking on the doors in HR, sales, marketing, not-for-profit, government, education. I have never, in all my years, I've been trying, I've never seen another sales force out there quite like it. Adrian, one of the things, and this is getting toward the conclusion of the show, that I want to focus on, because really one of the points we want to make here is you've always got to buy through experts. Unless you're buying just 3 or 5 of something, that's different. Go to your local retailer. You should be able to find somebody who can help you. But once you're getting into a group and your company's brand is involved, you've got to be talking to an expert. But Adrian, after all these years, no one has ever heard it. Really, when you go to a party, has anybody still to this day know that this industry exists?
Hardly, yeah, hardly. And, talk about in colleges and universities, they're not teaching about it. So, right, it's starting, but you don't hear too much about it, no.
Scott, your impression is, think about it, there are only a dozen companies like yours in the United States, you and Marianne. They're not many, maybe 15. Think about that, okay? So where's the rest of this business going? It's going through retail. Scott, if every business executive knew of companies like yours, am I nuts? But you might be, you're not quite a unicorn, but you'd be pretty, and you're big enough. But am I wrong? There's tremendous lack of knowledge about companies like yours to this day.
Yes, it is. And same thing. If I'm out and someone asks me what I do, I tell people I'm a fulfillment company, because it is hard to explain exactly what you do. I think also in corporate America, the employee engagement is lacking enough that in most cases, the person managing that is either a secretary, an admin, someone that is not, it's not their full-time job. And so it is hard to have someone understand what's available out there when it's a last minute decision. This stuff does have to get planned out. It has to be part of the core of corporations, of what they want to do. And then either through those loyalty incentive or promotional professionals that have to take that and make that part of their culture. And so I think for corporations themselves, they need to put an initiative behind that themselves and really kind of put a focus on who's going to manage that for them.
Well, when things move from a nice to have to a need to have, and viewers of some of the other shows that we have on the EEA YouTube channel are aware of the huge pressures now on CEOs from investors to report on how they treat people. And there was actually a law passed yesterday that will require public companies to disclose what their employee engagement strategies are, and many other indices. So it's moving from a nice to have to a need to have, and that means a strategy. That means companies, this isn't just a bright shiny object. It's literally material to an organization to be able to engage people. So Carrie, you are in a unique situation to address this issue about educating people about using experts like Scott, Marianne, Adrian, rather than going to, and no, with all due deference to Amazon, no, they are not a solution in this marketplace, because this is a marketplace, as Marianne said, of exceptions. That's not the model of Amazon. They're not in the business of exceptions, right? They're in the business of cut it out. We all know that story. So, but Carrie, I'm not going to disclose numbers that I happen to know, but the amount of business you do in B2B is bigger than almost every company in this industry.
Sure.
And I'm not going to ask you to disclose them. You're a publicly held company, but you don't break out your corporate sales.
That
but
is
they're
correct.
significant, and you have multiple people working there. And yet, where do you get most of your business? I would bet it's right off of your own website.
It does, right? I mean, I think like every other organization, you utilize social media to your advantage, Bruce, right? There's no question you have to take every endeavor and every opportunity to utilize social media to get your story out. But in many cases, yes, people will start with our consumer websites and they'll see corporate gifting. They'll start asking about programs. And I find it always interesting, Bruce, right? Because when we talk about the gut reaction of an admin, right? Well, we'll start with that admin versus what I'll call the financial decision maker. That admin is looking for something to purchase, either because there's a deadline or they start asking about the best price. And we know price is a hygiene factor, right? That's the other side of it, Bruce. I think there's a value in what all of us do in this marketplace and in this channel. Going back to some of the thematic stories that you're talking about, we have the ability to sell our products at a premium. And whether, again, it's a Citizen watch or it's something else, it's getting beyond that retail price and getting over that retail price and helping the channel learn that it's not about, do I get a 15% or 20% or 40% discount in the market? It's about the inherent value that you're providing to ease the process of gifting, help people with ideas and strategies of what works in the market, sharing best practices. People pay premiums for that. And that's a critical portion of how you succeed in this business.
So quick question, I'm going to go to Marianne. Do you get a certain number of calls that from your call center, your retail call center saying, we've got a lead for you here. This person wants to get this and this. They've called retail and then they get turned. How often does that happen?
Every day.
Okay.
Multiple times every day. multiple times every day.
Well, this is why the distributors are going to be so important, because the people who are out there have to educate the end user too, right? So, Marianne, one other reason to use a master fulfillment company as we come to a close here was really proven by the pandemic, and that's something that everybody knows about now, and that's called supply chain shortages. And so, what is the I know that you can't change supply chain. You can't get a Trek bicycle. Maybe Scott, with a little bit more buying power, might be able to get it a week before you. But if there's no Trek, if Walmart doesn't have a Trek, you ain't gonna have a Trek. But what can a master fulfillment company do to help a company when we have supply chain shortages? And in your view, how long do you think this is going to last?
A master fulfillment company can help in when there's shortages because you have alternatives in your warehouse that you can offer them. I may not be able to get this, but I can offer you this, which is very similar and will provide the, the same quality. It's not the Sony, but it's, the Toshiba or whatever. I think this is, with everything that I'm feeling and seeing, this is going to last until 2022. Or the end of 2021. It is not at 23. It's not ending soon.
Scott, what's your view on that? You're muted. Yeah.
Yeah. The supply chain is definitely an issue. I think as of yesterday, we probably had over 600 back orders, which is unheard of. I mean, normally we might have 20. But also with that supply chain, that all the costs are rising too. We've seen a 21% price increase in freight over the last 2 years. We're obviously seeing price increases on products. So there's a lot of managing that whole supply chain through inventory control, through price changes, through education, through transportation management systems to figure out how to bring that freight cost down. But yeah, the supply chain is getting, people say it's getting better, but it's actually getting worse. Like I said, we're seeing more back orders right now than we've ever seen, and they're not getting better.
Well, folks, so that is a great summary, which I'm going to now give you in a New York minute of what you've learned today. Number one, master fulfillment companies are experts in helping corporations and businesses or not-for-profits and schools of any size that are seeking to engage a group of human beings, either who are gathering together virtually or as part of an ongoing incentive, recognition, loyalty program. These companies specialize specifically in the corporate market and can help in some cases, like Marianne's company, Partners for Incentives on actual program design and implementation. Companies like Scott Kukin's, who's really a major master fulfillment company that can handle just about any scale of huge type of deployment, including customization and personalization. And companies like 1-800-Flowers that have really innovative technologies and surprise and delight platforms and whatnot. And as Adrian explained, the biggest challenge is educating the corporate marketplace that this industry even exists, because sadly the person out shopping is often an intern, a lower level person who's asked to go do this, and they've never learned about it. Well, the Enterprise Engagement Alliance has a whole new education program for college students. That's a whole nother discussion. But yes, we have to educate everybody on the existence of this market. So I just want to thank Marianne Komodo, the CEO of Partners for Incentives, Carrie Goldman, Director of Business Sales for 1-800-Flowers, Scott Kukin, founder and CEO of Links Unlimited, and Adrian Forrest, Vice President of Sales for the Citizen Watch brands, which of course includes Bulova. Thanks again, folks, and we really appreciate your help today.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.